Hi, this is Jacqueline with Nickel and Dime Decor, and I showed you a picture of my design wall. I had to have some place to put those 25 arrangements of my 9-patch, and I don't have a design board, so my sofa and coffee table were it, but it worked just fine. I make videos to teach people how to make quilts and all kinds of things, and I like to do that because when I'm learning myself, I can make the mistakes, and then I can show you what I've learned, and you don't have to make those mistakes. Well, I had never, we need 16 snowball blocks and 25 of our 9-patch, and I've never made a snowball. And of course, 9 patches are quite simple, and we're going to do one in a minute, and we're going to do a snowball. But I want to tell you what I learned. I did 9 of those snowball suckers wrong before it dawned on me that there was something wrong. And I knew they were not true and they weren't square, but I was doing exactly what it was, what they tell you to do is draw from corner to corner a line and sew. And then when you pull it up, you want it to be even here, and you pull it up, and you will have a beautiful 6.5-inch block. Well, I can't sew just a straight line, so I draw, there. And it finally dawned on me, hey, Jacqueline, when you are pulling this up, it's short. It doesn't go all the way up to the corners, so you have to not sew on that line. You have to sew just above it, like one thread above it, but don't sew on the line. Just sew right above there. It gives you just enough so that when you fold it up, it's perfect. And we're going to make one, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. But nobody told me that. It wasn't mentioned in the instructions. And maybe other people get it by sewing on that line, but boy, I couldn't. I couldn't do it. And I know it's very important to get this line even and this line even, and my lines were. And I sewed exactly on that line. It wasn't possible. It was always just a tad too short. So, you don't have to make that mistake. And you can do yours right and out. Just remember, on the top of your line, not over here, but on the top, go just above that line. And it gives you just enough that it folds over perfectly. Okay, that's what I learned on that one. And when I put my 6.5-inch up here, it's perfect. But it sure wasn't before. I was getting very discouraged because I just couldn't figure out what was wrong. So that's what I learned with the snowball. Now with the 9-patch, and you might not have to do this, but I sure did. I did a beautiful 1/4-inch seam, and my blocks were too little. They were not 6.5-inch square. And I thought, well, why? Why? It's a 1/4-inch seam. Well, what I had to do on my machine is I had to move my needle over to the right two times. I tried once, and that wasn't enough, so I did it 2 times. And I kept trying until I got it right. I wasted 3 of them, but I finally got it right, and it's a perfect 6.5 inch square. And you have to have 6.5 and 6.5 because you're going to join these. So it has to work. And I knew that, but I didn't know how to make it work, but I finally figured it out. So make one and see if it's 6.5 inch square, and then adjust your needle positions. Or if you want to just go for it and move over 2, that's what I had to do. So, and ironing is so important. You have to get these seams as flat as possible to get it to a 6.5 inch. You do a lot of pressing. I pressed both of these to the center because it laid better that way. This is just the way it laid for me, so that's the way I did it. So now that you've learned all of my mistakes, and now that we know what we're doing, gosh, I can just get busy and go for it, and I can get all these done. But I'm going to fix my camera so that you can get down really, really, really close. And then we're going to sew us a snowball block, and we're going to sew a 9-patch. Okay, we're going to start with our 9-patch, and we've got 2 of our 2.5 inch blocks, even right here on it. And I have a piece of tape that I put on my machine. It's at my 1/4 inch seam, and I have moved my needle over, like I told you, two positions. But that's just what I had to do to make this block work. I really can't explain it. That's just what had to be done. Didn't start soon enough. I always hold my threads, as you know if you've watched any of my videos, until I get going. And don't press yet. Just grab your next one, knead it end to end, well, as good as you can get it. I've started over just a little too far. Okay, that's our first row. But like I say, we're not going to iron yet. I'm going to put it over here, and then I'll show you when we get ready to iron. Now our next row, and I know that some of you, most of you know how to do this, but for those that don't, we have to do it. We can't just assume everybody knows, because everybody doesn't. pretty good job of cutting my 2.5-inch blocks, isn't it? They're pretty even Steven. I'm kind of proud of the way I got my blocks to work. Squares to work, rather. I bet you this seam is between an 1/8 and a 1/4. It's pretty small, but that's what I had to do. Okay, there's another row. Put it in the middle. And then here's my last row. This works pretty darn quickly. I know you think, oh my gosh, I got 25 of them to do. What you get on a roll and it goes pretty fast. It's just that I had so much problems, but I've done the 3 that I've got correct in no time. So it won't be hard to finish at all. And something little doesn't mean it's that much harder. It just takes a little bit more time, but it's not harder, I wouldn't say. Not when you learn what to do to get it to work right. Okay, I'm going to move my camera over. So hold on just a second. Okay, the first one, I'm going to press in this, my seams in this direction. Remember, don't iron, just press. Then this one I'm going to iron in the opposite direction. I want it to go, my seams to go, when I turn it back around, it will go in the opposite directions. There's a reason for that, and I'll show it to you. Now turn it back around the way you want it. Then this one is going to go the way this first one did, with our seams to the left. Left, and these go to the right, and these go to the left. Then you're going to just flip these over, and you see how this seam and this seam just nestles together right there. And that's how we're going to sew it. And this one just butts right up against that one. And that's how you sew it. And then we're going to sew our seam. And then we'll flip this up. We're not going to iron it yet. And we'll flip it up. And then we'll put this one on. So now we've got to go move the camera again and go back to the machine. Okay. Now sometimes I get them mixed up which one went what. I think that was my top piece, and these are the 2 that I'm going to put together, I think. I think it went this way. Yeah, okay. Be sure these are lined up down here. And I hope you can see that this seam and this seam are right there together. This seam and this seam are right there together. And I put that one wrong because I didn't want my two yellows together. But we won't worry about that. That's immaterial. But you don't do that. When you're doing them, try not to do two colors like two yellows together. Then we'll put this piece on. Let's see if I've got it. Yeah. And I don't pin because pinning distorts it to me, so I don't. It's a perfect fit. So I don't see any need to pin. Just kind of messes everything up when you pin on some things. Some things is necessary, but not always. And just double check this every once in a while. Make sure everything's straight. There's our 9 patch. What a beauty. Now, it is off just a little bit, but like I say, I'm not worried about it. And the baby won't be worried about it, so you don't be worried about it. But it's pretty darn good. And okay, we're going to go back over and iron, and then we'll measure and see how good we did. Okay, there's our 9 patch. It's all ironed beautifully. And if I need to press it a little more to get the seams out flatter, I will after I measure. But I take my square up ruler and put it from corner, this corner right here, to this corner right down here. That gives me the best judge right here. And see, it's going right there, it's meeting on that block, and right there it crosses that intersection. So we know it's perfectly square. Now look, you see your little bitty tab that we've got to trim off, and it's basically perfect. So we're just gonna cut this tiny little piece right here. Well, it helps when you open it up. Be sure you don't move your ruler anytime. Well, yeah, there's a little bit up there I need to do. A tiny little bit. That much. I don't know that I'm going to have to stand up and do this little tiny bit, shavings, and I'm going to do this. And that, my friends, is all we had to do. And we have a perfect 6 1/2. And now you know. It's just remember, do one, adjust your machine, move your needle over and see if it doesn't work for you better. I moved mine over twice. If it doesn't work for you, you can always move it back. But there is our 9 patch. One more down. I hated that I put my 2 yellows there. Okay, now for our snowball. I've got my 4 patches that I want to put on here. And now I'll take them off and put them down here. And we'll do this one first. You're going from here to here. You're marking your line from bottom left to top right. And we're going to mark it. And be sure that it's on here very, very, very straight. Okay, remember I said we're going to sew right above this line. Because we're going to fold it up this way. So this is our top. So I'm going to put it in here. And I'm going to sew right above that line. Might not have been enough. That's what we have to see. Fold it up. Of course, you're going to be ironing, ironing, ironing. But we can finger press for right now. But what we want to see is it up even enough? It's not too short. A little off right here, but see, when we true it up to 6.5, that part doesn't matter. So for right now, we're just going to finger press, and we're going to do our next one. Just turn it this way, and let's see, we wanted green, didn't we? Yeah. Right sides together. Draw your line. We're going from this side to up here, because this is going to be our top. We're going to sew up here on the right of the line at the top part, not the bottom part, the top. Be sure it hadn't shifted, and it did a little. So I've got to get that back down there. Just have to check it and check it and check it and make sure it didn't move on you. then you can hold it right here with both hands and your fingers over here. But I won't do that so you can see the camera. But I think I went a little bit above that, more than I needed to. But we'll see. Fold it right there. Finger press, and finger press. And it's okay that it's above it. That doesn't matter because we're going to remember true it up. But they meet real good. You've got a good corner there. Okay, let's put our next one on. And I want the blue over on this corner. And this thing, I can't ever tell the difference in the side, right side or wrong side. Perfect. You have to press and press and press. Press and press. But we finally got one that's picture perfect. All these, some of the fabric just really frays. It's kind of getting on my nerves. Once you iron those, it will be over there real good, okay? Now our last one, and then we can go iron and put it on, and I'll true it up for you, and we're done with the snowball block. See, it's not hard. It's not hard at all. Just remember to sew on the top side, right, just barely right above that line. Fold it up and meet your corner. And this is on a bias, so be careful that you don't, stretch it out or distort it in any way. And there's our snowball block. Wasn't that simple? Really was. Not much to it. Now don't cut these back sides. Don't cut this off yet until you're sure that it's 6.5 inch square. Then you can turn them off. Okay, I'm going to move again, and so we can cut this, and we'll be through for today. Okay, you probably can't see this, but there's nothing to cut off on this side. There is nothing to cut off on this side. And we have just a few little slivers to cut off on this side. Then I'm going to turn it all the way around and go this way. And your arrow is up there in the corner and your arrow is right there. So we know it's a good 45-degree angle. And then I'm going to trim this side. That's how much we have to trim. And that's how much we trim. Slivers, just little slivers. I think I'm going to trim this one again. This side, this way. Might have to turn it around and do all 4 sides to get it, you know, you don't have to get it perfect, but see, this side is good, this side is good, this side, and now that side. And that, my friends, is a perfect 6.5-inch snowball. Now you can trim these to a 1/4-inch seam or even a 1/2-inch seam. It doesn't matter. It's whichever you want. And when you, all these threads. When you get a kind of an assembly line and get going, make all your snowball blocks, because you can remember what your adjustments are, and you know, make them all. And then go to your 9-patch and make them, because then you might have had to adjust your needle. So happy sewing and have fun. And now you know how to make a snowball block, and you know how to make your 9-patch. Thank you for watching my Only Sunshine Quilt tutorial, part 2. Bye. God bless.